All right, so today we're here. We're talking to Mike MVP Kennedy. He is the leader and founder of G Life Outreach, and just got a couple questions for you. Kind of just tell me from your experience what G Life is about, and also what you believe Colorado Springs needs. So you cool with me asking you a couple questions?
Most definitely.
Awesome.
Most definitely. Yep.
All right, so can you please give us a background on your experience with gangs or affiliations?
Well, originally from Tucson, Arizona, and mom was a single mother. Actually was born in South Carolina. My mom remarried. We moved out to Arizona. When we moved out from South Carolina to Arizona, that was kind of like my first taste of kind of like city life and really kind of being around those types of influences. Never knew my real dad. Dipped out on me and my mom when, I don't know, I was told like 4 or 5 years old. So pretty much didn't have a lot of male role models in my life. Didn't really have necessarily, big brother, somebody to look up to, even though, I did have a few uncles in my life that, were, if any, were the male influences in my life. But once we moved from South Carolina to Arizona, like I said, my mom remarried. My stepdad was in the Air Force, and he got stationed out at Davis-Monthan Air Force Base in Tucson, Arizona. So basically, the few positive male role models that I had in my life growing up, until my stepdad kind of came in my life, kind of moved away from that, moved out west, and kind of moved from that country life to that city life. And just about age 14, just started getting into a lot of trouble. When we moved out to Arizona, I think I was around 11 or 12 years old, and by age 14 started hanging out. I was in high school, started hanging out with with the wrong crowd. Just kind of felt like I really didn't necessarily have a direction in my life at that time, even though I did feel like I had the Lord in my life, and I knew who God was, but yet I didn't have a relationship with God. I wasn't a believer yet. And but yeah, just started hanging out with the wrong crowd, getting involved with the wrong things, with the wrong people. And like I said, by around age 14, I got jumped in, initiated into the gang that I got involved in, and by age 18, I was already looking at 10 to 15 years in prison, for grand theft larceny. So so just in that little time of 3 to 4 years, I'd already put myself in a position with the gang that I was involved in, a pretty prominent, well-known and large gang on the east side of Tucson, Arizona. Just in that little time, had already set myself up for time in prison, and it was one of those things where it was like I got initiated. It felt like I got initiated one day, and then the next day I was looking at prison time. It goes by so fast. I tell people all the time, especially the youngsters out there, it takes no time at all to ruin your life, especially when it comes to gangs, when it comes to that type of lifestyle. It does not take much at all to set yourself up for failure big time. So,
and as far as Colorado is concerned, a lot of folks would not be too aware of the prevalence of gangs in this area, because it's just saturated with like suburban life and stuff. But there's the opposite sides of town that others just either don't go to and whatnot.
Yeah, like the South Side.
Right.
Yeah.
So what, from your experience, how many active gangs would you say are in the Colorado Springs area?
As long as I've been doing gang outreach in this city, I mean, it fluctuates. I mean, it goes anywhere from, I would say, about 80 to 150.
Okay.
So, of course, some of your larger gangs, more well-known gangs like Crips or Bloods or Sureños or Norteños, they have pretty large sets. They have lots of members a part of their sets, so they tend to stay around a lot longer. And of course, your smaller sets that, especially in Colorado Springs, and really in Colorado Springs, more derived from Sureño sets.
Right.
You have more Sureño sets in Colorado Springs, than you maybe have up in Denver. Denver, Colorado, I think is more Norteños up there. But yeah, it fluctuates because, like I said, some of your larger gangs are always around, and then some of your smaller gangs that only have a few members, they might be around for a year or two, maybe 5 at the most, and then they're gone. Either they link up and move into another larger set, or they just disband altogether. So that number is always kind of fluctuating, but realistically, it stays right around about, I would say on average, around about 100. You can always guarantee that there's probably around about 100 active gangs in Colorado Springs. So, and just like you were saying earlier, Colorado Springs, can fool you because this doesn't look like the type of place, the type of city that would have 100 or more active gangs in it. This seems like suburban life. You got, you got Pikes Peak. You got all these different things that are going on in Colorado Springs, especially faith-based. They said on any given weekend, there's probably more faith-based activities, outreaches, and different things going on than any other city, in the country.
Right.
But yet, once again, you have a lot of, negative stuff that's going on right along with that positive stuff. So,
Okay. And real quick, what would you say Colorado Springs needs in regards to like the prevention of the antisocial behavior that goes along with gang activity?
I'll tell you what, the first thing that comes to mind, and has always been on my mind, and is something that I'm an advocate for and continuing to push for, is the collaboration of faith-based and community-based organizations coming together and working together. Churches, ministries, outreach organizations, such as G-Life, all of us coming together and working together, because for a long time, once again, I've been doing gang outreach here in this city, for well over a decade now. And one of the things that I have seen time and time again is that the ministries and the churches and the different faith-based and community-based organizations not working together, and really almost like gangs in themselves, because everybody has their own territory. Everybody says, well, I only work with kids on this side of town. These organizations say, well, I only work with these types of kids. I only do this, I only do that. I can't really link up with you because, I've got, this going on that limits me from being able to link up with other ministries. And so what you end up seeing is all these different organizations, once again, and not picking on faith-based, it's the community-based organizations, everybody doing their own thing. But because of that, there's so many gaps within the intervention and prevention piece in Colorado Springs that leaves these kids, still stuck in a gray area to where nobody's working with them, nobody's reaching out to them, and they continue to get out there and do dirt and get in trouble. So we need more collaboration like never before. And like I said, as long as I've been doing it, we have come to a point where if we're really going to make a huge and major impact, especially as long as I've been doing this in the Springs, in this day, in this era, it's going to have to be more and more collaboration. So because the dynamics of gangs, how they operate, how they do things, how these kids are getting involved, getting initiated, getting lured in. All the dynamics are changing on a regular basis. So without collaboration, without each of us sharing our intel, sharing our knowledge, you know, we're going to leave these kids, you know, out to dry. So,
Yeah, I got two more questions
Okay.
for you. I think there are two pretty big ones. One is more universal
Okay.
than just the Springs, but more. Why do you think teens, or why do you know teens join gangs?
Man, there's just so many different reasons.
What do you think are the most, like, most encompassing, where all of them could agree that this is why I joined the gang for the most part?
One would be protection. We are in a day and age now where kids are bullying and picking on other kids at a phenomenal rate. You hear about bullying on a regular basis in every school, you know, every city, you know, in whether on the north side or whether on the rough side of town, on the south side or whatever. You're hearing about that to the point where kids are just like, yo, I need some protection. I need backup. I'm tired of going to school and getting picked on. You know, and with bullying being such a epidemic right now, kids are like, yo, if that's what I got to do to make sure that I don't go to school and get picked on and get beat up all the time, by joining these guys that say they got my back, that say that they love me, that definitely is drawing them in. And then, of course, you know, one of the major ones, that reasons that you have seen, you know, for years and we'll hear about and see for years to come, is the allure of, you know, money and glamour, and yo, it makes me look cool. It's an identity thing. I don't want nobody to think I'm a nerd. I want to be cool. I want to be down. I want to be hard. I want to make a little bit of money while I'm at it. And like I said, protection and you know, and that what they think they're going to be living some kind of lavish life, you know, is sucking these kids in, you know, in a crazy rate, crazy rate right now. So
Okay. Yeah. Now, lastly, what do you think Colorado Springs, Pueblo, Denver, as the encompassing like this Tri-City area, what do you think that we need to do to make the citizens of these cities more aware of gangs?
Well, once again, just kind of going back to the collaboration with all the ministries, with all the organizations, faith-based and community-based, I believe that if we all work together, using our intel, using our resources, using our networks, you know, we will be able, working together, be able to really put the word out and really begin to open people's minds, especially, once again, as we talk about Colorado Springs, that a lot of people are just like, oh, ain't no gangs here. Man, it's too nice to have gangs here. When I first moved here, you know, back in the late 90s, you know, military life is what brought me out here. That's what got me out of that gang life. And, you know, and I'm so thankful for it. And coming out here, you know, after I got out of the military, and just started running into kids. I probably was the same way. I was probably kind of blind to it, you know, simply because I'm like, you just wouldn't expect it here in Colorado Springs.
Right.
So it's not that people are purposely being blind,
Right.
or, you know, or just wanting to turn a blind eye or a deaf ear to it. It's just that this just a place like Colorado Springs just doesn't seem to be a place where you would have something like that going on. And like I said,
ignorance.
yeah, exactly. So even myself coming here and started running into kids, I started doing ministry, you know, got down for the Lord, started serving God, and you know, and I was just like, okay, Lord, this is where you put me, so use me however you want, you know what I'm saying? And the Lord began to bring these different kids along my path, and they began to share their story with me about, yeah, man, you know, my life, my parents, you know, I'm running with this gang and this and that. And I'm like, are you serious? Even here? And that really even opened my mind to that gangs is something that no matter who you are, where you're at, where you're from, how nice the town is or isn't, gangs is such a, you know, a huge lure, you know, for any town, for any city, no matter, once again, where it's at, Colorado Springs, Denver, Pueblo, you know, even to the East Coast, you know, from West Coast to East Coast, north to south, it's everywhere. So, but yeah, the ministries, the organizations, we've got to come together. We've got to use our networks, all of us. So whatever network that I have, whatever resources that G Life has, I've got to be willing to share that with, you know, the other organizations, the other community-based, the other faith-based, the other ministries and churches and stuff. I've got to be willing to allow them to use those resources so that way they can do what they need to do on their part to put the word out, and vice versa. Whatever they have access to that I don't have, that G Life doesn't have, they've got to be willing to allow us to have access to that. So once again, it's all for the same purpose, the same cause. And I think with that, and of course working along with the you know, with the Colorado Springs Police Department, where G Life Outreach is highly involved in the probation department, the court system, that helps as well, because as we're, once again, they have access to something that, you know, we don't, as far as organizations on the street, and vice versa. The court system, probation, CSPD, they don't have access to stuff that we as a street ministry, as a street outreach does. And once again, we're utilizing each other's knowledge and intel and resources and have access to that, man, we can do damage to this problem. So, and really be able to you know, get a chokehold on it before, you know, it's too late and well out of control to where we can't do anything about it. So right now it's manageable. But that don't mean it's going to stay that way for long if everybody is just spread out doing their own thing. So yeah, can't cover every base when everybody's doing their own thing.
Yeah. Well, hey man, I appreciate your time.
Anytime.
I really do appreciate it. And yeah, just best of luck to G Life Ministries outreach.
Definitely.
And you know, we'll be linking up in the future. All right?
Sounds good, brother. All right, God bless you, man.
Yeah, you too.